Yeah, England have shown that they are close to coming to terms with the demands of the one-day game. It's surprising England play the maximum, or used to play the maximum limited overs cricket for the longest of times. But unfortunately, their formats never conformed with international cricket. First, they had the 60-over game, then they had the 55-over game. For a brief while, they had the 50-over game. Now they play 40-over domestic cricket. So it's not really in tune with what the demands of the international limited overs 50-over cricketers. But despite the fact that they play so much limited overs cricket, England have struggled to therefore establish themselves at the world level. But now there is a refreshing change in their attitude. The personnel are pretty much the same, apart from the fact that Alistair Cook has gone out. The team is pretty much the same that has been in place for the last 2-3 years. But you can see that there is a lot more energy in the side. There's a lot more intent in the side. It's not fair to just blame everything on Alistair Cook, but the fact that Cook was struggling to get momentum at the top of the innings meant that other guys had to play slightly different to their natural grain. Now that they have found that happy balance between attack and solidity, they look a much more complete outfit. They've always had the bowling. Now the batting looks a little more adventurous. It's got the people who are naturally flamboyant stroke makers. So there is a very good feel about this England side. They have improved as the tournament has gone on. They've outplayed Australia in the first game. They bounced back to crush India, and then they scored 300 against Australia and Hobart. Maybe they should have got more. But they're still not the finished product. You could see yesterday against India when Bell went early, and then there was a little bit happening on the pitch. They still have the old demons are still surface from time to time. So they're far from a finished product, but they're getting there. They're getting better, and Australia are understandably wary of the challenge that confronts them tomorrow. Australia had a strange sort of tournament. They have won all their games apart from the washout against India and Sydney. But the number of people that they've used, I think they've used about 16, 17 players. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's a huge number, and they've used people from outside the World Cup squad. They've been hampered for the fact that Clark is not available. It's hampered that Watson has not been available for the last couple of games. That Hazelwood didn't play until the last game against India. That Johnson has been given the month off since the Boxing Day test. So they've had a lot of mixing and matching. They've had people coming from outside the World Cup 15. Through it all, however, they've managed to retain the core group that's going to be going to the World Cup. Mitchell Starc is a key member of the World Cup. James Faulkner is a key member of the World Cup squad. Brad Haddin, for instance. Obviously, David Warner, Finch. These guys have all pulled their weight. Now, Johnson coming in will only obviously make the attack stronger, especially the fact that they're playing in Perth, which has the reputation of being one of the fastest, bounciest tracks in the world. We didn't see true bounce yesterday when England played India. It was a little up and down. It was very up and down, actually. It was a difficult pitch for that on. But George Bailey was talking at the press conference today, and he was speaking about how when Australia and South Africa met for 2 matches in 3 days here in November, that the second match, the pitch was actually quicker than it was in the first game. So if that is the case, then Johnson should fairly enjoy himself on his comeback. A lot of talk in Australia and outside of the cricketing teams about how this match will have a huge bearing on what will happen when Australia and England play in the opening game of the Australian leg of the World Cup in Melbourne on February 14th. I think that's a completely different event in itself. I don't think this match, you might have the feel-good factor when you go to the next game, but I don't think beyond that this match will have any significant bearing because the conditions in Melbourne are completely different from what we will find here. Man for man, obviously Australia has a better side. They've been playing some outstanding cricket despite the fact that they've had to change personnel for almost every game. If both teams play to their potential, then I think Australia will win. But England have shown that you cannot just wish them away. They're not here to make up the numbers alone. The edge is still with Australia, especially if they put England under pressure. Yesterday, like England showed, if Ian Bell goes early, then there is a little bit of fragility in the middle order. Bopara has not got a run. Root has had just one good game. So they're not completely settled yet. They are heavily reliant on Bell. Moeen Ali's had an up and down kind of series. He's played a miss. He's hit a few sixes, but he's not really been on top of his game. So basically, it's been Bell, Taylor, and to an extent Butler. So as a group, they have not yet sort of hit top gear. So that is something that Peter Moores will perhaps take some confidence from, Owen Morgan will take some confidence from that. Despite not being at full throttle, they have played reasonably good cricket. So if they can just get the batsmen to raise the games a little bit, and if Stuart Broad can rediscover his rhythm, he's been one of the disappointments so far, but the other fast bowlers have moved well enough to make up for the fact that he's just coming off injury. But if England can pull up the batting a little bit, then we could have a close contest.